Welcome to another episode of Conversations Sin Miedo. It's me, your girl. So today we're going to be talking about first generation struggles, balancing family expectations and self-care. When I say self-care, I was talking to some friends about this and they're like, I don't know what that is. Taking care of myself, what is that? So we're going to talk about it today. We're diving into a topic that many of us as first generation individuals in the Hispanic community face, balancing family expectations with their own mental health and self-care. I know from personal experience how challenging it can be to meet family expectations while also trying to carve out time for myself. So, growing up, I always felt the pressure to succeed, not just for myself, but for my family. And that could be just heavy, first of all. And it's like, I was seen as the one to bring pride to my family, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, honestly, and stress. It's literally stressful. So when I'm talking about this, I want to just kind of be aware of that this can be stressful. And so we're going to dive into this. So understanding the pressure of being first gen. So you've probably heard your parents say, like, we sacrifice so much for you, to come into this country or to have a better life. I don't think necessarily it's, if you're a child of immigrants, for sure. But I think especially parents, literally every parent wants their kid to succeed or to be successful. And majority of that is to go to college. Literally, it's be a doctor, be nothing. Be literally the top of the chain, be a doctor, or you're not successful. Most of the time, just, over exaggerating. But sometimes it's like that. Sometimes they have literally setting you up to fail sometimes. And so you've probably, heard that and probably understand how that can add pressure and to succeed. And I've heard, like, ponte las pilas, which, translate, like, literally, it's so funny. Put on your batteries. What is, like, the, pull yourself up by your bootstraps? I don't know what the other Caucasian saying is, but what's another one? It's like, oh, échale ganas. Like, oh God, what is that translated? Like, keep going. And yeah, literally just go out there and succeed for us. And you have to do this. And it's not really, it's the complete opposite of motivating. Like I said, you're setting this bar up so high of your expectations of your child. And that's your expectation. It's not mine. I have a different expectation for me or my dreams or what I want to be. I feel like, why did this come to my head? But like High School Musical, if you know, you know. It's about a kid. He's a basketball player. He wants to be. I feel like this is in every movie. Like, no, Dad, this is your dream. This ain't my dream. It's 100% like that. It's like sometimes I want to do this, but my parents don't want it. And, growing up too, and when you're in even not even high school, like when you're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? Girl, I don't know. How am I supposed to know? And then once you're like a senior in high school, it gets real. Like, oh damn, I graduate. I have to be an adult. And I'm, in the United States, like being 18, you're legally an adult and you could, I don't know, yeah, you're an adult. I don't know, I was going to say buy alcohol, but you have to be 21. But, adult things. And it's so hard to think like, oh, what do I, like, I worked in a program where I worked with first generation students specifically, figuring out, like, they didn't have to go to college, but figuring out what they want to do after they graduate high school. And they were like, well, what is college? What is the difference between college and university? I had to Google that. I was like, well, I don't know, majors, whatever. It's a whole new world. And most of them, their parents didn't go to college. So it's like, figure it out. Figure it out. You got to figure this out. You have to do this. Oh, so much is figuring it out on your own. And that's hard. It's so hard. Like, these family expectations, and this also ties, I think it's hugely different with men and women too. It's funny, how old am I? I'm 26. And in high school, it's like, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. And now my family's begging me to have a child. And it's like, no, no, girl. I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. Like, I am good right now, maybe later. But anyways, it's this like, it's so weird. It's like, y'all wanted me to go to college. You wanted me to do this. Like, make up your mind. This is my life. This is for everyone. Like, I didn't go to college for you. Like, this isn't for you. Did you go to, is your name on my plaque? Or even like, you don't okay, let me get organized. I'm getting riled up here. What was I saying? So it's literally not easy. College is hard. It's stressful. Especially the how hard it is on your mental health too. You got to get up, you got to go to class, you got to work. You're an adult now. Writing papers, exams. If you tell me to take an exam tomorrow, and no, like, it is really hard. And when you get that degree, that name is your name. All that hard work, it was you. Who went to class, It's all these things that your family, it's not about motivating you. It's like literally pushing you to the edge of like, you have to do it. And for what? Like, this doesn't mean, it's absolutely, you're successful. Like, you did that. Like, you got your degree. Props to you, girl. But you don't have to go to college to be successful. There's a lot of people I know that have their own business, that are working, like a manager at places. Like, do what you think is successful. And if your family doesn't like it, that's their fault. That's their own fault. That sounds like a you problem. That's not on me. I'm working, my bills are paid. I have I don't know. I have my money that I made. Like, props to you. That is a huge thing. And I think that ties into to mental health too, is that I was like, am I going to cry every episode? It's okay to cry, but I am doing the best that I can. And that means whatever the fuck I want it to mean. If that means I get up and go to work, if that means getting up and taking a shower, cleaning my car, that's okay. And constantly carrying these expectations can lead to stress and burnout and feeling guilty for wanting to do something different. And it's important to recognize too that your feelings are valid. And this ties into my next piece about self-care and taking care of yourself. So a huge thing let me start with self-care. So self-care is not being selfish. Self-care is setting boundaries and about making sure we have the mental space to support ourselves and eventually like our loved ones or our family or whoever. I feel like, so for those who don't know, so self-care is pretty much taking care of yourself, but it's what's the word? There's a difference between self-care and, oh my god, it's gonna bug me. Self-loathe? No. I'll come back to it. It'll come to me. But self-care is essential for everyone because it's the act of deliberately taking time to support our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It might seem like a indulgence, an extra indulgence, or something we do when we have spare time. Self-care is a foundational practice for maintaining resilience, health, and happiness. So self-care is understanding what that is. So there could be like physical self-care. So like sleep, exercise, eating right, going to a doctor, going to a dentist. Emotional self-care. So like regulating our emotions is a huge thing. Practicing like mindfulness and taking time to really let yourself feel, let yourself understand that it's okay to feel. If you're upset or if you're mad, it's okay to have those feelings. And it's important to not bottle them up or push them down. Like, obviously let yourself experience those feelings, but in a healthy way. Mental self-care, so keeping your mind active, engaged, doing a hobby, doing something you like, reading, learning something new, anything like that. Social self-care, so maintaining supportive and meaningful relationships. So talking to, positive, not toxic people, friends and family, going out to the community too, doing stuff like that. Spiritual self-care is a thing too. Maybe religious or going in nature or meditation. Meditation is actually really good, not gonna lie. Spotify has some good ones. Shout out Spotify. I did a guided meditation, so they like talk you through it. They're like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like something as simple as that. And self-care is important. It's important because it prevents you from burning out, from physical exhaustion, where we can't, have, it's not about feeling, it's really about not having energy, but like that, like fatigue and like, I can't get up and do this and have my responsibilities and, so self-care keeps us balanced. So how are we going to do that? So building resilience. So when we take time to take care of ourselves, we're better able to handle life's stresses. Let me say that again. When we take time to care for ourselves, we're better able to handle life's stresses. Self-care doesn't make life's challenges disappear, but it helps us face them with a clearer mind and stronger resolve. So again, our mental health is physical health. It's tied in with everything. So that is a huge thing. Tied in with it is self-care. I think another important thing is with that is boundaries. And so balancing family expectations and personal well-being being a huge thing. is setting boundaries. So, an effective way to protect our mental health is through boundaries. So, if your family expects you to, be available all the time, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? It's like, I have my life, I have things to do, and that's okay. So, saying, you know what, I'm happy to help, but I need to have some time for myself to recharge. Or you could say, not right now, or I can do this later, or just things like that. And I think that's a huge thing too. When you're, as a first generation, if your family is learning to speak English or has a hard time, I remember translating at the age of 7, I think, 6 or 7. And yeah, we got to do it sometimes. And that's it. That's a whole nother world. That's a huge thing we had to do, of being the family translator, being the family, literally the family lawyer. You're handling all the paperwork. I know most of my family's social security numbers because I am the family lawyer. I am the family, what's the word? I am in charge of some of them. Can you make me a dance appointment? Can you help me? And I love my family and I love to do it, but sometimes it's like it goes into weaponized incompetence. Some of y'all love that word, some of y'all hate it, but weaponized incompetence is, let me Google it so I'm not. Okay, what is weaponized incompetence? But for me, what I brought this up because, someone would say to me, oh, I don't, what's an example? Again, love my family, but it's like, you're older than me. You have been living and breathing longer than me. And you can figure this out, girl. You got this. Oh, can you make me an appointment for my dentist? What? No. That, you gotta call them, tell them your name. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. It really isn't. Okay, let me see here. Weaponized incompetence is a term used to describe when someone deliberately performs a task poorly or claims not to know how to do it to avoid taking responsibility. This behavior often appears in relationships, workplaces, or other settings where tasks are shared and can place an unfair burden on one person, forcing them to pick up the slack. There you go. There you go. But I'm saying this with setting boundaries because that could be pushed on you. Again, with these high expectations of, you have to do this, you have to help us. You went to college. I did not go to college to make your appointments. I am not here to live for you. And I can help you, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do it for you, and that's another thing of your mental load can be so full. And that's oh, I have to go home. I have to cook today. I have to clean. I have to do this for my mom. I have to do this for my sister. I have to do this, and this. It's your mental load of all the things you have to do for yourself, plus other people, plus, I know, I gotta go get gas in the morning or this and that. Your mental load can be a huge impact on you, and even sometimes on your relationships. Really thinking sometimes of when you expect something from someone, but you're an adult and you could do it too. And like, if you come home and you tell your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend, like, what's for dinner? It's like, what is for dinner? What are you gonna make? What are you gonna eat? Like, I don't have to cook for you. That's not my role. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But it's kind of that, I was gonna say weaponized and confident sometimes, that you see the fridge, we have a microwave, we have a stove, YouTube a cooking video. Figure it out. And that's another hard thing too, of like, I had to figure it out. I had to figure it out. There's a video of what's her name? Cheekies. She's Jenny Rivera's daughter. If you don't know her, she's a queen. You probably know her songs, but she was saying something like, I had to figure it out. She's controversial, whatever, but I had to figure it out. I had to figure out, like, these adulting things, and my mom did the best she can, but there are things I had to figure out on my own. And I think that's another thing, that it's like, when I was younger, I had to figure it out. So the adults in my life, the other people that are adults, can do the same. And again, this is about setting boundaries with people, and dealing with guilt too. It's normal to feel guilty for prioritizing self-care, but remembering that taking care of yourself, means you could be there for yourself or your family in a healthier way. And, if guilt comes up, remind yourself, you know what, I'm doing this so I could stay strong and be more present for my family or whatever. So you're really doing it for yourself. And again, not feeling guilty about it. Because guilt can play a huge thing too. And I know, like, well, for me, growing up, as a woman, you had to help raise your younger siblings, or help with them, take them to school, take them to an appointment, pick them up from school, whatever. And also that guilt of being first gen, of freeing yourself from that. And that could mean something different, of like, I was living with my parents, I moved out, and you feel that guilt of leaving your younger siblings behind, or feeling that guilt of like, I know this is going to be put on them in some way, but realizing that it is hard. But if you don't break that cycle and do this for yourself, it's not going to change. And it is going to be difficult, but that's life. We have to do hard things, and if we don't, who will? It has to start with us. And especially, like I was saying, I know, I mean, you don't have to be the oldest, but like, having younger siblings, I guess you try to do better for them, or you try to, I guess, not let them go through what you went through. But again, that's not your job. You are their older sibling, their sister, their brother. You are not their parent. And I'm like not blaming parents or nothing. They did the best they could too. They did the best with what they had. I saw this quote that was like, you'll probably never get an apology from your parents. And that's okay. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll talk to them. Maybe you're great at it. I'm not. Um, but just realizing that, um, they did the best they could with what they had. You can't change the past. You can't predict the future. But right now, what you could do, what you're in control of, is yourself. And it's important to remember that. And I kind of think about it too, like, you know, if you're over 18, you're an adult, right? Like, there's a time where you gotta stop, um, I guess, blaming your parents, and you have to come to the point of like, all right, I gotta do this for me. They did the best they could. I'm 18. I am responsible for my choices from now on. And yeah, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna, nobody is perfect. You're a human. When you make mistakes, you learn from that. And it's important to remember that you have to own up for your responsibilities, to your responsibilities, and face consequences sometimes or whatever. But realizing that, I guess it goes into forgiveness too. And you're not forgiving themselves. You're not forgiving them for them. You're forgiving them for you, or with anyone. It's forgiveness can be hard, but it's like it's draining you at the end of the day. And it is important to have that reflection and be like, okay, I gotta do what I gotta do, whatever that looks like, and be responsible for what I did or who I am, and and all that too. So going back to this topic, I think it's important we also talk about anxiety. So I, first of all, love the movie Inside Out. And in this Inside Out 2, they had these new characters, and one of them was anxiety. So tying this with these high expectations from my parents, from being first gen and different things like that, having high expectations for someone, whether, we set them for ourselves or by someone else, can create anxiety because it generates this pressure to meet these, most of the time, often unrealistic standards. And the fear of failing to do so can be overwhelming. So the fear of disappointing others. So when someone has these high expectations from us, we'll say our parents, or even at work, or our friends, or our partners, they may, we feel that we have to meet these standards, and then trying to avoid disappointing them. And then this pressure can lead to constant worry about letting others down or making them, and can make you feel inadequate if you can't, and falling short from it, which could lead to like perfectionism and self-criticism. And we're so hard on ourselves, and especially with anxiety of, we all have anxiety. It's often looked at as negative, and anxiety is, when it gets to that point of over worrying, and these, like I said, these high expectations or fear of disappointing others, it can get bad, and it could really, really affect us, of having this could, lead to an anxiety disorder, or having like a panic attack. It can really be serious, and it's important to understand that this, ties in with it, of this fear of failing and fear of judgment and pressure to be perfect. And it's feeling anxious, how much it can affect your body and how much it can just make you feel on edge. And again, your mental health is tied in with your body, and like it could affect like your digestive system, digestive system, your you can get headaches, you can get migraines. Oh, I used to have the worst migraines, and I never did. I literally got an MRI. I was so scared. But yeah, your anxiety can be so high every day, and it's not healthy for you. So this anxiety of having, being a perfectionist, of not wanting to disappoint others, it really leads to like you feeling guilty for not resting or not taking the time, like I said, for self-care, but feeling guilty of literally, laying down, like having that little voice in your head of like, you have to get up, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. And that will look different for everyone, but it's important to remember that it is okay and to not feel guilty about it. So that brings me into another thing that ties in with this, and it's imposter syndrome. So some people, especially with those with high self-expectations, may feel like frauds or constantly worried they aren't good enough or will be found out as inadequate. This can be especially common in like high stakes environments like work or, in college or something, but most definitely in these high expectations in your environment, of high expectations in your family. And so it's important that we remember that too, of like how imposter syndrome it's such a huge thing. And so again, I had to Google this definition, but imposter syndrome is where individuals doubt their skills, talents, or accomplishments and have a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite evidence of their competence, people with imposter syndrome feel they don't deserve their success, often attributing their achievements to luck, timing, or other external factors rather than their own abilities. It's especially common among high achievers, perfectionists, and people working in competitive or high pressure environments. So it goes into this huge, just the same thing of like doubting yourself, of this fear of not being good enough. And again, these high expectations from your family, and having to work harder than others or proving yourself, and that people being raised in these families have a high value on achievement, or we're overly critical, may internalize these beliefs that they need to be perfect to earn approval. And that's another thing, of seeking that approval from others, or seeking that, what's it called? Seeking that approval in other areas in your life too. And that could be especially hard. So effects of this is, again, anxiety, stress, self-sabotage, difficulty with, struggling in relationships with friends or family. So what can help with this? So diving into this, how to manage and overcome this. First of all, again, remembering you are doing the best you can. You are your own unique person put on this world to do whatever you want, whatever that looks like, whatever that means of success in your eyes, and that's okay. Life isn't this competition with others. The only person you're in competition with is yourself. Being better than yourself yesterday, whatever that looks like. And if that means just improving yourself, having these goals for yourself, working on yourself, and really understanding that. So what you could do, again, recognizing it, reframing these negative thoughts, like, I worked hard for this, I earned this, I did that, I did the work. So reframing those negative thoughts, practicing self-compassion. That's another thing. We're so hard on ourselves, and our inner thoughts tell us to keep going or don't stop, do this. But if you wouldn't say that to your best friend, why say it to yourself? That's kind of what I tell myself, like, why am I so hard on myself or saying these things to myself if I wouldn't say this to someone I love or someone I truly care about? Again, also seeking professional help if you need it. Therapy can provide a supportive space to explore, these root causes. And again, I love therapy, and yes, I'm a therapist, so sorry, I do love it, and I think it's important that everyone should try it and figure out, what works best for them. But really understanding that sometimes maybe you do need someone professional and talking with them, and that's a huge step too. But definitely a very important one. So yeah, I feel like we covered most of that, and I think it's important that, again, we talk about this and really just understanding it. And yeah, so I think that is it for today. So again, it's important to find the balance between these family obligations and self-care. So remember, setting boundaries is okay. It's important. And finding support, and it's a necessary part of growth. So it's okay to take care of yourself while honoring your family. Both can coexist. And do something, figure out your self-care plan, figure out what that means to you. Really try to work on it and set a goal for yourself today of, what can I do for my self-care? Like I said, you can find meditation on YouTube, on Apple Music, on Spotify. There's free things out there. Do something that you want to do to take care of yourself today. Sorry, I just burped. But yes, take care of yourself today. And please join my Facebook group, because I will post each week's topic, and I really invite you to share your thoughts or stories, and I really want you guys to be engaged in this, and even kind of talk about next week's episode's the topic is a good one too. And I have the Facebook group and also the Facebook page, so you please like that, and my Instagram as well. I also wanted to say a disclaimer. So the content content shared on Conversation Sin Miedo is for informational and educational purposes only, and it reflects my personal opinions. Although I am a licensed therapist, the views here are my own and do not represent those of any professional affiliations or workplace. This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and does not, nor does it establish a therapeutic relationship. So if you're seeking mental health support, please consult with a licensed professional who can provide that individualized care. If you're seeking mental health support, please consult a licensed professional who can provide that. And if you need immediate assistance in the U.S., you can dial 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So again, that is 988. Thank you for listening to Conversation Sin Miedo. Together we can navigate these challenges and create a supportive space for each other. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Love you all. Take care. Bye.